He really was literally a gangster. In fact, he was a ruthless murderer, but he made a significant contribution to Israel, and I think his story is fascinating. But no one should interpret that by talking about him and what he did for Israel, that in any way I'm condoning him. Of course, I'm talking about Meyer Lansky. So he was Little Man Lansky, and the reason that he was Little Man was because he was about 5 feet tall, and there were many more Jewish mobsters who also did things for Israel, such as Meyer's partner and childhood friend who opened up Las Vegas as a gambling destination. His name was Binyamin Siegel, otherwise known as Bugsy Siegel, and he started the Flamingo Hotel in Vegas. Bugsy and Meyer were both known associates of Sam Levine, who was quote unquote an Orthodox Jew. Red, Sam's nickname, murdered his victims by stabbing them in the temple with an ice pick, a method he himself was proud to have invented. But he was an observant Jew. He could not kill on Shabbat. Thank God. Could you imagine if he wasn't observant? If these guys weren't such cold-blooded killers, they would be characters in a comedy. The gangsters created a special group known as Murder Incorporated. These guys were active for 10 years, during which time they committed some 700 homicides. These guys are evil. Let's go back to Meyer. Meyer was born in 1902 in Grodno in Eastern Europe to a Jewish family named Lansky. Oh my goodness, don't make me say that again. Meyer remembers how his grandfather, who was already old, wanted to make Aliyah to Israel and to be buried in Jerusalem. His father wanted to take the family to America. He thought that there would be opportunity there. The old story, said Meyer, and that's exactly what happened. His grandparents went to Israel, and Meyer immigrated to the U.S. with his parents when he was 7. They were naturalized under the name Lansky. He grew up on New York's Lower East Side. In the 1930s, the Nazi ideology that swept across Europe also came to the U.S. It was spread through Hitler's German-American organization. They held rallies and promoted Nazism. Lansky was asked, check this out, guys, by the Jewish communal leaders to respond with force. Lansky, emboldened by the plight of his Jewish brothers in Europe, was more than willing to oblige. There was only one caveat: no deaths. Lansky agreed and immediately called his friends. We wanted to show the Nazis that Jews would not always sit back and accept insults. Lansky and his guys went to these rallies. They broke arms and legs of the American Nazis. They cracked ribs, they smashed heads, but Lansky kept his promise. There were no fatalities. Lansky, and he also got his mob friends, both Jewish and not Jewish, to donate millions of dollars to buy and refit ships to bring Jewish Holocaust survivors from Europe to then Palestine. But there was also a huge need for money to buy weapons. Here, according to the conversation between Lansky's friend and partner, Bugsy Siegel in Las Vegas, and Ben-Gurion's representative, goes as follows. Bugsy says to Ben-Gurion's representative, "Are you telling me that the Jews in Israel are actually fighting?" Ben-Gurion's representative says yes. Bugsy then leans in, his face almost touching that of the representative's. And Bugsy asks, "Fighting to kill?" "Yes," says the representative. Bugsy then says, "Then I'm with you." And for the next few weeks, Bugsy gives him suitcases filled with $5 and $10 bills, in the end totaling to more than $50,000. In this period of time leading up to the birth of the State of Israel, there was a U.S. arms embargo. That means that it was forbidden and a federal offense to help get weapons to Israel. And this is where Lansky makes his most important contribution to the nascent Jewish state. What they did was they turned to Albert Anastasia. He controlled the New York dock workers. He was an Italian in the mob and Lansky's personal friend. And Anastasia took care of making sure that the boats were secretly loaded with weapons destined for Palestine, not alerting any dock officials or FBI. And he also made sure that the arms that were being smuggled to the Arabs, that their ships would sink in the middle of the ocean. In 1970, Lansky is indicted in the US and skipped bail, and he runs away to Israel. Greg, next slide, please. Now, this is Lansky's, not his first trip to Israel. He's already fallen in love with the country, and he wants to turn a lot into the Las Vegas of the Middle East. But a lot is not going to become Lansky's Vegas. Next slide, please. The Israeli government turns down Lansky's request for citizenship. So Lansky sues the government for violating their own law in Israel's Supreme Court. Now, it was said that Golda Meir, Israel's female prime minister at the time, who is also an American, was afraid that Israel was going to be flooded by mob criminals, all wanting to pray at the Western Wall and corrode Israeli society. The government argued that criminals were not included in the law of return. But on this logic, Lansky should have prevailed. Although he faced countless indictments and accusations of major crimes, and despite half a century as leading organized crime, Lansky was acquitted of every charge he ever faced except one, a minor conviction for gambling in the 1950s, and he served 2 months in jail for that. However, politics got involved, and America threatened to withhold much-needed Phantom jets from Israel unless it expelled Lansky. How do you think Israel's Supreme Court ruled? Unanimously, they kicked Lansky out, ruling that he was a danger to public safety. He was promptly arrested upon his return to the U.S. and tried. And what was the verdict? You got it. He was acquitted on all counts. In 1979, he wished to revisit Israel to honor the graves of his parents on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. He was declared a public threat and was rejected by Israel once more. He died in 1983.